It's official, we are halfway through 2025, and if you are anything like me, your reading journey has been a wild ride. But the big question is, how good it has really been. Hi guys, this is Stan, and if you're new, huge welcome. Today we're going to tackle the ultimate check-in, the Mid-Year Book Freakout Tag. I'm going to be very transparent and honest about my reading so far in 2025. Are there any books that blew me away, that didn't hit, any characters I can't stop thinking about, or any big surprises? Are there any ultimate page-turner, or are there anyone sitting on my shelf secretly judging me? Whether you're looking for book recommendation or you want to compare notes on your own 2025 reading, you are in the right place, and let's get into it. The first tag is about the best book that I have read in 2025, and I can come up with 2 5-star reads. First of all, I have Of Empires and Dust by Ryan Cahill, the 4th novel of the Bound and the Broken series. If you don't know about it, it is a self-published modern epic fantasy series. And gosh, it is such a massive beast, and if you're reading it from the Kindle, you will notice it is 1,700 pages long, which is possibly the longest book that I have ever read. To be very brief here, it is mainly about a tiny group of rebels lighting fire across the empire that they want to overthrow. It is honestly such an emotional journey, and I really love the character works in this series. Every single one of them, even the side characters, has just gone through so much, and some of them even deserve like a massive hug. You can easily root for any characters in this series. The plot in this book is also really interesting. Majority of the storylines come to an end and ready for the epic finale, which is called Of Gods and Ashes. It would definitely be an epic, bloody mess, but in a good way. The next 5-star read I have here is The Fall of Neverdark by Philip C. Quintrell, the 4th book of the Echo Saga. It is like the Bound and the Broken series, a self-published modern epic fantasy series which got 9 books in this saga. I always love this series. The intricate world building, good pacing, interesting plot, but in the first trilogy in this saga, what I think is missing is the character depth. And coming to this 4th book, it has improved a lot, and I particularly love the tension and dynamic between certain characters. Some characters also got a more complicated background and relationships, which makes this book more entertaining to read. If you are into epic fantasy but you haven't heard about this before, I highly recommend it. The second question is about the best sequel that I have read in 2025. If you haven't noticed, which is quite obvious, the last 2 books I have just mentioned are all sequels. But if I need to come up with an extra one, it would be The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson, the 3rd book of the Mistborn era 2. I always love this pair of partners or detectives, Wax and Wayne. The humor really hit, and there are plenty of actions in this series. This is such a fast-paced read that's gonna investigate a mysterious relic, and I also appreciate we finally got a chance to learn more about the side characters, Wax Bride. The third tag is new release that I haven't read but want to. Maybe it's better to avoid books that I have already mentioned in my June's TBR because I don't wanna repeat myself. Firstly, I have Sorrow of the Sea by Stephen Ian, the last book in the Entangled and the Falcon series. If you don't know, it is a historical fantasy that is inspired by the Mongolian invasion to the Middle East in the 13th century. What I find so fun about this series is we got POVs from both the Mongolian camp and the Persian rebels, which obviously they are in conflict. So it is interesting to see how each group wanna outsmart each other, or to see how one's effort gonna create a domino effect to the Mongolian Empire or to the Persian rebels. So I am really curious to see how this one gonna end and take off another fantasy trilogy. The next book I have is The Tainted Count by Tara Matharu, the 2nd book of the Soulbound saga. To be fair, it is not like I am so desperate to find out what's going to happen in this sequel, but to give this series a second chance. What I do love about the first book is the unique magic system, where if you reach certain level, you will get certain power, obviously. And then the world building is quite interesting, where our main character called Jai suddenly drawn into court politics and even bonded with a dragon. But what I do not like about the first book is the pacing and the storytelling. Coming to this sequel, the only thing I know is we are going to follow our main character, Jai. So I just want to see if the writing of this series is gonna be improved. If that is the case, I will keep reading it. If not, I will probably DNF it. The next tag is a good one, my most anticipated release of the second half of 2025. If you don't know about me, I am so bad at keeping up new fantasy title. So if I do miss any big one, let me know please. I even forgot The Devils by Joe Abercrombie gonna be out in May, and then of Empire and that's gonna be out in April, which I totally missed out and totally disrupted my TBR. But back to 2025, the first book I can think of is The Black Fire Blade by James Logan, the second book of the Last Legacy series. In the first book, we follow the adventure of Lucan in a new city called Saphira, where he wants to find out the truth of his father's murder. I love the companions he met along this journey, particularly Flea, and I also love exploring this new landscape with them, solving some mystery or even political conspiracy together. It is just such a good blend of friendship, adventure, and mystery, and I can't wait for the next adventure together. The second book I can think of is Catabasis by R.F. Kuang, which is gonna be a dark academia standalone. It is so different from Poppy War or Babel, where our main character wants to save her professor from hell because she wants to secure a better future. But there are some mixed reviews on Goodreads. Some feel like it is about R.F. Kuang showcasing her research on certain topics and it can get quite detailed. Personally, I love Babel, I can connect to it, I can feel what R.F. Kuang want to write, but coming to Catabasis, I am not too sure here. The last new release I can think of is The Art of Legend by Wesley Zhu, the third book of the War Art Saga. Once again, it is a very different fantasy because it focuses quite a lot on wuxia, martial art. It is about the chosen one called Jia, who will defeat the enemy, the Eternal Khan. But this chosen one needs some training and guidance first, which I love this take. The supporting cast are like well-trained warrior or like some bloody assassins. I love the quirky Qisami, so I can't wait to check out Jia's journey again. The fifth tag is a shady one, my biggest disappointment. Unfortunately, I can think of two, and they are both books that I read in May. The first one I have here is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. If you don't know, it's my first time to check out any works by this author. Maybe because of the reputation of this author and the hype around this book, I have such a high expectation for this one and even think it is going to be a 5-star read. But it turns out to be quite average. Although I know that Joe Abercrombie is so good at writing morally grey character, I just think this kind of really dark sense of humor, this kind of messy conversation is quite overused. Then this book is divided into 4 parts, but I think the structure of the first 3 are just quite similar. You can tell by the covers there are quite a lot of characters in this book, but I just find some of them do outshine the others. The only thing I love is some characters are quite interesting. My favorite is the magician, and let me remind you, he is not a sorcerer. So after completing this book, I am a bit scared to start the First Law universe later in 2026. The second disappointment I have is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Is it just me and YA can never bond well together? It is definitely another book talk sensation, should I say. I like the whimsical fairy tale-ish writing, but I just don't get the naive female main character. It is also a case of false marketing, where the synopsis didn't really capture what is going on in the story, and also you need to read careful first. The character growth is really limited, and the world building is on a very weak side, so I decided to DNF this series. But I hope I can still continue exploring YA. If you don't know, I haven't read much YA before. I don't have that transition from reading YA to adult, but I believe there's gonna be some good books out there. After biggest disappointment, of course we're gonna have biggest surprise. I have The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Liang. I always had this question in my mind. What is a cozy fantasy? What is cozy in a fantasy, and why we need this subgenre? After finishing this book, it cleared out some questions in my mind. It is a relatively smaller adventure with lovely companions written in lyrical writing. You may feel inspired and heartwarming after finishing a cozy fantasy. Honestly, this book changes how I see about cozy fantasy and definitely want to read more of this subgenre. And I mean, a cozy fantasy is usually a shorter book, so it is also perfect for you to sleep in between all those chunky epic fantasy series. The 7th tag is about my new favorite author. It is not an easy question because I don't feel like I get to know much new authors so far in 2025. Maybe I would say Philip C. Quintrell again. I haven't read anything by him before, and I only started the Echo Saga back in April. Or is it April or March? I love the intricate world building and the all-you-can-eat action sequences. The character work also get better. So in a sense, you can see the improvement of the author throughout the Echoes saga. And I'm not sure how he achieves it. There are 9 books in this series, and according to the publication date, this series finished in 5 years. But every book in this series serve. Now there are even 2 new novels that is set in this same universe, so I totally appreciate the effort and the determination of Philip C. Quintrell. He is such a hardworking author which obviously loves his job. The next tag is quite a weird one, my new fictional crush. I honestly don't read for a crush, and most of them are like epic fantasy, so it is so hard to choose from. Maybe I will choose Hunt from Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, not because of the sexual appeal, but worship me like how you worship Bryce. Oh my god, that was horrible. Next, we have my new favorite character, and surprisingly, it is coming from my disappointment, the Devils. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Balthazar, the magician but not a sorcerer. He is such a morally great character. This powerful magician was asked to escort the rightful heir to the Serpent Throne of Troy. He definitely got his own agenda on this journey, but he is just so consistent, or in a sense, stubborn for what he really wants. He would use whatever ways he can come across and achieve this goal. So the drama brought out by him is really interesting, and it is such a mess. How he evolves later in the story is also really interesting. But let me warn you once again, he is such a powerful but dangerous individual, so I can't wait to see what he gonna do in later installments. Finally coming to the 10th question. A book that made me happy. Once again, it is just so hard to choose from because epic fantasy, you don't associate it with bringing you happiness, bringing you joy normally. So I will still go for The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Liang. I once again love this little cozy adventure of Tao and her newly met companions. This journey really brings out their vulnerability, which could be inspirational. And it is just a heartwarming story about finding a missing girl. Nothing is overly complicated in this world. It is just a very immersive, heartwarming, emotional read. I'm not going to answer the next tag, which is about book movie adaptation because I rarely watch any movie, so I can't answer it. Next one is about my favorite post that I have written in 2025. Now, I am a content creator on YouTube, so it is better for me to answer it in the videos that I have made. The first one I can think of is definitely and easily going to be the Magical Readathon. It is my very first time to participate in any form of reading challenge, so it is just so exciting and fun to pick up the books that you are going to read based on the prompts. By the way, my calling is Tom Binder and I can't wait for the next term. The other one is a recent one, which is the 5-star book hunt. I always love making vlog. I used to make a weekly reading vlog, but the feel is just like too terrible to continue with it. So maybe later in 2024, I put this idea to the bin. Now I rebranded it as like a monthly reading vlog, but got a theme in it. Not just like week in my life sort of vlog, because no one is going to be interested about this small potato. This 5-star book hunt, I have given it a new name, the 5-star quest, which suits the SFF theme of this channel much better, right? There would definitely be more episodes in this series till the end of the year. So you got like 6 or 7 videos to watch for this 5-star quest, and then I will start like a new season for 2026. It is better for me to share my thoughts once I finish a book because I can still got the memory and maybe I got some more to say about it. It is also easier for me to prepare for the wrap-up just in case I miss out what I have read in the beginning of the month. By the way, do you have any ideas on how I can improve this kind of vlog? Because I know that it is just so hard to make it entertaining or to attract new viewers. So is there any sort of theme that you want me to do? Or is there any way to make it more interesting? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment. I desperately need some advice here. Okay, the second last tag, the most beautiful books that I have bought in 2025. If you don't know me, I always love a special edition. The first one I have here is The Magician by Raymond E. Feist, and it is an edition from the Broken Binding Fantasy subscription. If you don't know, my favorite artist that I have met through this kind of special edition is called Jeff Brown, and it is one of his design, and you can really see how epic this new cover is compared to the original one. The original one, I'm sorry, it is a bit boring because it is like holding hands, and the 3 books in this trilogy all got this kind of cover but with different color theme. But I mean, look at this new edition and also the interior art and the naked hardcover. I mean, it's just perfect for like an epic fantasy series. And the other I have just arrived not too long ago, and it is the Sun Eater set, once again by the Broken Binding. This edition is just like so beautiful, and the Broken Binding never let us down. The art here is just like really, really cool. I never read this series before, but if I see this cover, let's say in the shop, I would definitely pick it up because of the good cover, and we all judge a book by its cover. Let's be real here. And I mean, look at the details of this end paper art, and we also even got a reversible dust jacket where the Broken Binding rarely do so. And I think that if you're going to order the special edition for book 4 and 5, it will also come with the original hardcover design where you can like swap between these two, and I just can't wait to get into this series. Finally, it is the last tag, the books that I really need to finish by the end of the year. I know I sound like a broken record at this point. I keep repeating my 2025 reading plan. There are 2 series that I do want to finish by the end of the year, which are The Wheel of Time and The Echo Saga. So all the remaining books of this series, I have to clear them before the end of 2025. The other books that I do need to clear them as soon as I got them is from book subscription. I just don't want to put them on the shelf and looking at how beauty they are, I really need to get into the story. So the only one that I need to keep up with is obviously the Broken Binding, which I will be reading the Rift War Saga from June to September. And then rumor has it the next pick is gonna be Between Earth and Sky by Rebecca Ronhorst. So I'll definitely go and check the series out later this year. Obviously, I still got new release that I mentioned earlier, like the Art of Legend, Catabasis, and the Black Fireplace. It is going to be busy in the second half of 2025. So this is my mid-year book freakout tag. Looking back at the first half of 2025, my reading journey is definitely a well mix of really incredible highs and some really low. Honestly, I feel quite good about how many good stories, how many good fantasy books that I have discovered, even though there are still some bumps in the road. Now, I want to hear from you. What has been your absolute favorite book of 2025? Are there any books that make you totally freak out, no matter it is good or bad? Or maybe you can tell me, are there any books that you can't wait to read before the end of the year? You can just simply share all your thoughts in the comment below. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel Dentistry so you won't miss anything from me. I'll see you all real soon. Goodbye.